G'day punters, Nick Ashman here with your Sydney Cup preview for the Foxcatcher team. Let's have a look, and we always like to start with a bit of history in case it does repeat. So we'll go through now some stats three key stats for the big one on Saturday at Randwick over the gruelling 3,200 metres. 11 of the last 17 winners have come through the Chairman's Handicap the week before, so it's provided a real good guide to Sydney Cup success. Five of those Chairman's Handicap horses have done the double. And that's exactly what our favourite, Allowcance, is going to be trying to do on Saturday afternoon. Stick with me on the favourite. Here's a stat for you. Manion Cup winners, which is what Allowcance was 2 starts ago, are just 4 from 35 in the Sydney Cup. So she's got some good stats in her corner. Then she's got that one glaringly poor stat as well. Let's now move on to having a look at the ratings for the Sydney Cup. And what I wanted to do is talk more about sort of the ratings, the best rated horses, and show you some replays of how they've gone. I want to start with Duke de Sesso. Now, he's obviously the Caulfield Cup winner from last year. His ratings have been really consistent at his last 8 starts. 7 of his last 8 starts have all rated well enough to be competitive in a Sydney Cup. So what we're seeing from the Duke as we're looking at a replay of his Caulfield Cup victory is that he's just super consistent now. So even though he's got that anchor of 56.5, and I know what you're thinking, 56.5 is not an anchor, Nick. 20 years ago, horses were capping much more than that and winning major staying races. But the problem is it's still 6.5 kilos off the minimum weight in this race. And over 3,200 metres on what we'll think is going to be a fairly fast tempo, that 6.5 kilos definitely plays a role. So he's consistent. He should be in the top 5. He's trained by a master in Kieran Ma. He's just got that 56.5 kilo steadier. Allowcance. Now, she's a horse that's absolutely airborne. She's won all 3 races this preparation, and she's done it by leading and kicking away at either the 6 or the 800 metre mark. The positive for her is the fact that she can go forward and take advantage of any sort of, dwell in the pace. If they start to back off, she's right there. The problem for her, as we're looking at a replay of that Chairman's Handicap effortless victory out in front, is that in the Chairman's, she was able to go even fractions till about the 800 metre mark where she started to quicken. On Saturday, with the presence of Circle of Fire and Valiant King, who are probably all going to push the button and go forward, I suspect that now that they know what her strength is, even fractions and kick from the 800 metre mark, I think now they're probably going to take the race up to her a lot earlier than the 600 or 800 metre mark. So that's a little negative for Allowcance, but there's no doubting she's been purely dominant in the staying races in Sydney so far this autumn. Let's move on to a bit of a crowd favourite, Zardozi, as we take a look at her Melbourne Cup, where she finished 4th in Knight's Choice. She's proven at the 3,200 metres courtesy of this race. The race actually rated pretty well. It was a very fast-run Melbourne Cup, so she proved that she can stay out that trip pretty well. Her Australian Cup, even though she didn't win, that race rated through the roof. It was one of the highest-rating Australian Cups we've got on our database. So she comes out of a very high rating weight for age race. She's proven at 2 miles. She's just got to get through and break through for that win. She does find it a bit tough to win as an older horse. She was quite dominant in those younger years, but she's just finding it a bit tough to break through as an older horse. Let's move on to another one. This horse is 50-1 in current markets. His name's Mostly Cloudy. He finished 6th in this race last year to Circle of Fire. The time that Circle of Fire ran last year was right up there with the best ratings we've seen in Sydney Cup history. It is a race that can rate well, and Circle of Fire did that last year. The reason why Mostly Cloudy did a good job running 6th is because he loves a fast tempo. He comes out of the Roy Higgins, and maybe he was just half a run short of his peak fitness. His 4th up record, which he is on Saturday, 3 starts for a win and 2 seconds. He goes very, very good 4th up from a spell. Let's move on now to a horse called Birdman. And this horse, well, he ran in the Chairman's as well last Saturday behind Allowcance. He's coming off a career peak rating in that race, which is what we love going into handicaps. Now, the problem is he actually meets Allowcance worse at the weights for getting beaten by her 7 days ago. But I think the faster tempo is going to suit him. He's drawn soft. He's going to get a cushy run in transit. If they soften her up in front, he's the horse that's got the nice big booming finish on him. He's got great stamina, ratings in Europe, and I think he gets his chance on Saturday to show him out here. Don't worry about the fact that he didn't factor in the Geelong Cup in the spring. He pulled up lame. That's why he didn't go on in the spring campaign. He got transferred to Chris Waller, and he's now starting to put it all together. He hasn't run a bad race this preparation, and we might look back and say he was just crying out for 3,200 metres. Let's talk about a couple of other blowouts. We've already touched on mostly cloudy. The first of them, Cleveland, my tip in the race. This is a replay we're looking at of his Moonee Valley Gold Cup win from 2023. Now, he got injured, I think, either in this race or after this race, and he didn't press on to a Melbourne Cup or anything else that preparation. He was off the scene for a long time, and he only had 4 runs last year in 2024, and none of them were very good. He returned with a good first up run in the Mannion Cup. He's the only horse that meets Alaucans better at the weights off a last start beating by her, if that makes any sense. He drops, I think, about 6 kilos. Jamie Mellum in the saddle. He was favourite for a Sydney Cup 2 years ago at $4, and here he is now at $34. And there's genuine excuses for his failures in between. I think he's a big, big price. And then also Strathtay, who ran the best last 200 metres. We're having a look at him now in the chairman's handicap. He came from a mile back. It was an even run race where the winner, Alaucans, was able to skip away from him at the 600 or 800 metre mark. This horse ran the best last 200 metres of that race, and that's always something you got to follow. Find the best lead-up race, find the horse that ran the best last 200 metres, and then watch if they all go up in trip. It might be the one you want to have something on. He's a good price as well. Let's now have a look at the track intel and how this track and the race is going to pan out. We're hearing that lanes 3 to 7 in the home straight will be the place to be. It should suit horses stalking the speed, and maybe the first 7 in running will have a small advantage at Randwick on Saturday afternoon. Now let's have a look at the speed map for the Sydney Cup. So we've got the best rated horses. Let's now have a look at who's going to get the best run. Alaucans will go to the front, but I think she's going to have a bit of company this time. I think Valiant King will push right on. I think Circle of Fire will do the same. Maybe the Circle of Fire drops in just in behind Valiant King and Alcalance. Maybe Alaucans and Circle of Fire share the lead, and Valiant King drops in behind him, a little bit to play out there. River of Stars, Duke de Sessa, they'll be nice and handy as well. They'll get good runs. Then there's Birdman, maybe Hopeful, and we sort of go back from there. You can see Strathay's in the mix there. Cleveland's in behind, mostly Cloudy. Now, the reason why I don't mind that map for Cleveland is because mostly Cloudy will come out at about the 800 metre mark and get going. He needs time to wind up, and that's when Cleveland can get on his back and get a good drag into the race. Go and watch a replay of last year's Sydney Cup. Mostly Cloudy made a move down the side and was the widest horse coming into the home straight. They did a similar thing in the Roy Higgins last time out. That's his racing pattern. It means the horse that grabs his back gets a good card into the race, and I think it's going to be Cleveland. Best of luck.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.